Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Rennie Gabriel, author of Wealth on Any Income. Rennie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paul. Pleasure to be here.
Are you ready to get started?
Oh, you betcha.
All right. Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Well, I'd say that they need to seed the book with text that will inspire the reader to hire them. You have to realize that this should not only be an educational book, but it's a marketing opportunity as well.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
I would say it's understanding how publishers make money, which leads to how the author makes money. Without that understanding, it's really tough. There's a lot of wasted time otherwise.
And then can you clarify that a little bit more for us? So how do those two different processes work in your view, with the authors making money and the publishers making money?
Well, the publisher makes money if they're selling books, which means someone's got to do some marketing for it. And if the author is using his book to only make money from the sales of the book, they've got to be doing the marketing and they've got to be pushing it. And that is what I've found to be the absolute least effective way of making money from a book. When the book is used as a marketing tool to grow someone's business, that's where the money is being made. I can give you an example of when I had a book publishing company. One of my authors was a real estate agent, and he wrote a book on what's called buyer agency, which is about how people who think they're being represented in the home purchase transaction by a real estate agent 20, 30 years ago legally was not being represented by that agent that was showing them houses. The old law of buyer agency, the old law of agency for real estate transactions made the real estate agent who was showing a house to a prospective buyer a sub-agent of the seller, meaning his legal obligation was to the person selling the house, and he had no obligation to the people he was showing the house to. So one of my authors wrote a book about that. He helped make changes of the laws in the state of Colorado. And within 5 months of his book's release, his commission income grew by $165,000 because he was the author of a book. And you look at the word authority, it has the word author in it. And that transformed his business, that book. He would go on appointments, competing with other real estate agents, and ask the person he was sitting with if they'd read a copy of his book. Well, they were rather impressed with the fact that he was the author of a book on real estate. And 9 times out of 10, he obtained not only buyers, but real estate listings as well. So that's how a book is used. And it's not about just selling books and getting a royalty income. And that's the hardest thing I think most authors don't understand when it comes to getting published.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, Rennie. One thing I always tell my clients is you have to be able to run your book like a business. And the first thing I ask them is, what do you want to get out of your book? What is the main benefit? Because I always tell them on the front end, you can make, a nice little chunk of change, but you make the life-changing money on the back end. And that is utilizing that book as the foundation of your business platform. And as you talked about, the root word of authority is author, and it just gives you so much more credibility. And then when you can give someone a paperback copy of your book instead of a business card, you have a nice one-on-one with them and you sign it and go, hey, I can't wait to work with you. It's such a more powerful connection versus just having that business card.
Oh, absolutely right. It's uh, so many times more powerful. It's like the difference between someone riding up to your appointment on a bicycle or showing up in a Jaguar.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And this is going to tie nicely into our next question, and that is about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that worked well.
Well, my book, Wealth on Any Income, was really about how to handle money effectively. And what I recognized was this was an excellent book for financial planners and insurance agents to use with their clients. So rather than being told, I can't afford your insurance, or I don't have the money to invest in mutual funds or whatever, if they used my book to educate their prospects in how to handle money, they could make more sales. And so I reached out to various insurance companies, the human resource director or the training vice president, and talked about what my book could do for their sales force. And one of the test programs that I did was with 30 insurance agents, and their commission incomes increased in 6 months by 300% using the book the way I told them to use it. And that inspired the insurance company to have me speak to their entire field force of 600 agents, and they bought 5,000 copies of the book. So, that was how I marketed the book, and that was go to the companies that I thought could really use it with their field force.
And then with the 5,000 copies, were you selling those at wholesale prices or at full prices?
I sold them at a wholesale price because, they bought 5,000 all in one fell swoop. And what they did was they turned around and sold the books to the agents, the field force, and the agents were buying them at 5 and 10 copies apiece to use in their marketing.
So everyone made a little bit of money.
Everyone made a little bit of money, and the people who actually used the book made the most money. And obviously the clients that they helped became more financially successful as well.
Did you also turn this into additional public speaking opportunities and different courses and workshops?
Yes, actually I did. I created an online program called 9 Days to Financial Freedom. I created a coaching program using the book. Yeah, there were a whole pile of spin-off products and services that were created from the book.
Yeah, it's amazing how you can really utilize that as the foundation of your platform. And clearly, you did it the right way. You went into a little bit of corporate business with the insurance agencies. You created the courses, the different programs. It's just amazing what you can do with that book.
Oh, absolutely. And and then I started using different parts of the book to do blog posts and emails. And I created a list of about, I think it's close to 3,000 people now that have opted into my website, and they get emails on attitudes of the wealthy, mindset principles on prosperity versus poverty thinking, and all of the things that came out of my book just create a whole host of emails.
So you're talking about prosperity and abundance as well.
Absolutely correct, yeah. I'm doing a series of 30 emails right now on what I call the Wealthy Mindset series, where I'm talking about how wealthy people think and what their attitudes are versus a poverty mindset. Things like looking at the big picture first instead of the details, or asking questions when you hear familiar information instead of making statements like I've heard that before. The importance of paying yourself first, on and on and on.
Excellent. You've created a whole brand on this book.
That's correct. Yeah, the website is called Wealth on Any Income.
Excellent. Well, Rennie, let's go to the hard question. And that is, I'd like to ask you about your favorite book. So what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Well, you mean my favorite book besides mine, of course.
Oh, of course, of course.
Yeah. It would have been the book by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich. It was the first book I read that dealt with the importance of mindset. And since he had interviewed the wealthiest people at the time, and how they thought and masterminding and all the rest of that, that just turned my head around and led me on the direction to reading more of those kinds of things, from The Richest Man in Babylon to How to Get Rich by J. Paul Getty, on and on and on.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Again, not my favorite, not my own quote, which is "Wealth is a team sport," but it's a quote by Warren Buffett. And he says, "Of the billionaires I have known, money just brings out the basic traits in them. If they were jerks before they had money, they're simply jerks with $1 billion." And the reason I love that quote is too many people think that being poor is better than being rich, and Hollywood indoctrinates people with that attitude. You look at the movie Titanic, or Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, or It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart, you'll see that the rich people are evil and disgusting, and it's only the poor people who are noble and wonderful. And so too many people think if they become wealthy, somehow they will turn into something disgusting. And Warren Buffett's quote says, if you're a good person first and you become wealthy, you'll still be a good person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been on both ends, lines of abundance and lines of poverty, and you are who you are. And you can be just as happy with $1 million or with a few dollars.
Yeah, and I understand that concept as well, because at age 50, after a couple divorces and a business failure, I was flat broke. And now I have the opportunity to give, and I do, give tens of thousands of dollars annually to charity.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in karma. It goes around, comes around. You do good, you help others, it's going to come back in a good way.
Absolutely right. It's proven in my life over and over again.
Well, Rennie, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
To go to wealthonanyincome.com, and they can get $1,000 worth of free business building tools. They can get a free summary of my book, and 100% of the profits from the work I do are all donated to charity at this point.
Rennie, I want to thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you for this opportunity, and I really appreciate you reaching out to me.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.